When I saw what happened in New York City,
refrigerated trucks are now being mobilized as makeshift morgues.
Almost overrunning of our healthcare system. It was like, oh my goodness. And that's when it became very clear that the decision we made on January the 10th to go all out and develop a vaccine, we have a number of vaccine candidates, may have been the best decision that I've ever made with regard to an intervention as the director of the Institute.
The best decision that I've ever made. Did you catch that? Was this Dr. Fauci's idea? I want to bring in one of the experts. We got Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff to President Trump. He was with him by his side throughout COVID. Look at that. That's, I think, when President Trump had to go to the hospital. There he is, Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff, and he joins us on Newsmax once again. Welcome back, Mr. Meadows. How are you?
It's great to be with you. Obviously, Dr. Fauci is trying to take credit for something that only Donald Trump could take credit for.
So, yes, I mean, that kind of leapt out. I was under the impression that he was skeptical about the vaccine from the earliest stages. And at times he did give Donald Trump credit. Does he think we forgot all those moments?
Well, apparently he forgot that last night when he was on another network to have this revisionist type history that has been rolled out. But I think the other fact is that Dr. Fauci very clearly continued to not only suggest that vaccines were going to be a long ways out, but in telling the president it could be a 3 to 5 year process. So, you know, we already have hundreds of millions of people that have gotten the vaccine because President Trump refused to listen to Dr. Fauci and pressed not only me, but many others in the administration to move forward. And to hear Dr. Fauci say it's the best decision he's ever made is extremely disingenuous.
What was he like to work with? We know he's a bit of a publicity hound, quite frankly, and he has said multiple things that turned out to be wrong, and he said them publicly, for instance, masks on 60 Minutes. What is he like behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, Dr. Fauci obviously has had a long storied career with a number of different administrations. And as he's in the room, you can obviously see his interaction with other members. But I think the difference, the major difference we see is the Dr. Fauci that's in the West Wing is very different than the Dr. Fauci that shows up on national media. You know, he was off base a number of times as he discussed masks and vaccines, maybe as far off base as his opening pitch for the Nationals game. But when we see this, I can tell you that it is very troubling to have a history that I was in the room for, and obviously Dr. Fauci was in the room for, and yet to somehow suggest that the president shouldn't get credit for this vaccine. Even his own boss, Dr. Collins, suggested that it was President Trump's real reaction that made the difference.
So Dr. Birx, Deborah Birx, another member of the COVID task force, she summarized a conversation that she had with the president. I want to play this. This is a back and forth between her and Sanjay Gupta. Let's go ahead and play that, please.
Report in August that got horrible pushback. That was a very difficult time because everybody in the White House was upset with that interview and the clarity that I brought about the epidemic.
I can tell just by reading your face, that was a really tough time. What happened?
Well, I got called by the president.
Were you threatened?
I would say it was a very uncomfortable conversation.
Well, I'll talk about some leading questions there. I've got my own theories on Dr. Birx. Oh, she did get burned, let's face it, when she went to visit her family, and the whole world found out about it when she told us to stay home. And yes, she gathered with her family over Thanksgiving despite her own guidelines. I feel like she's trying to somehow redeem herself inside the swamp. But Mark Meadows, you were there. What's your take on her and what she's saying now?
Well, Dr. Birx may recall a difficult conversation with President Trump, but it was more a conversation that was based on her leading into that particular interview without actually having the science to back it up. It was really more her comments about keeping schools closed and what was going to happen or not happen in rural America. It was her going not only off her own talking points, but off of her own advice. We know scientifically and from all the evidence we had at that particular point that schools were not the major cause of the spread of this virus, and yet she seemed to focus in on that. And so that was the pushback that she got. To suggest that it was anything more than that or that the president threatened her, I can tell you that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx gave advice to the president consistently, and at no time did he ever not take their advice. It was all about saving lives and making sure that he was able to not only get the virus under control, but making sure that vaccines and therapeutics got approved in the most expeditious manner possible.
Mark Meadows, you have a lot to be proud of. Chief of Staff to President Trump, joining us today from the Conservative Partnership Institute. We appreciate it. Come back soon, sir. Please.
Thank you, Greg. Good to be with you.
All right, to be continued.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.